American President Donald Trump has issued a tough ultimatum to Iran. Either Iran will capitulate within the next 48 hours and abandon its nuclear and missile programs, or the United States will go to war and is ready to launch massive attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities. In Israel, it was openly stated that Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is a target for elimination. Participants in the meeting between President Donald Trump and his national security advisors at the White House say that the American military may join Israel's operation against Iran within the next 48 hours. And according to them, after the specified period, it will become completely clear whether the situation has a diplomatic solution or if the United States of America will resort to military action. To carry out Donald Trump's plan, the United States Armed Forces have already deployed dozens of heavy bombers to the Middle East and are also moving 2 aircraft carrier groups. At the same time, the United States Congress is preparing a resolution against United States involvement in the war against Iran, stating that this is not America's war. At the same time, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has already stated that Iran does not accept the ultimatum and is ready to fight the United States. The Iranian armed forces have already targeted their missiles at American assets in the Middle East. I'm Pechiy. Today is June 18th. Next, we'll dive into the details and break everything down. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, give it a like, leave any comment you want, and be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechiy News. The link to it is in the description of this video. So, after an emergency meeting of the Situation Room at the White House, Trump's team announced that the American president gave Iran an ultimatum. The Khamenei regime must surrender within the next 48 hours, or else the United States will go to war. A high-ranking source in the American administration confirmed that Trump is considering the possibility of taking part in the hostilities. According to sources in the Jerusalem Post familiar with internal discussions in the White House, if the United States joins the military operation, the target of the American forces will be the uranium enrichment plant in Fordo. By the way, I made a separate detailed episode about the plant in Fordo, where I explained what this facility is and why Israel cannot destroy it without the support of the United States. Be sure to watch it. At the same time, interestingly, high-ranking Israeli officials believe that Trump has already made a decision, and the United States will strike Iran if it refuses a deal that includes the elimination of its nuclear program. At the same time, as sources of the television channel noted, in the White House, there is no unity among Trump's advisors on the Iran issue. According to sources from another television channel in Washington, they believe that they will be able to bring Tehran back to the negotiating table and force them to sign an agreement with a complete renunciation of uranium enrichment. If Iran agrees, a high-level meeting with the participation of Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and Vice President J.D. Vance could take place as early as this week. At the same time, Donald Trump published a series of posts on social media the day before, in which he called Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei an easy target, and demanded the country's unconditional surrender. At the same time, American troops stationed at bases throughout the Middle East were placed on heightened combat readiness. As it became known later, the discussion in the White House Situation Room concerned exactly how the United States would participate in strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, including the facility in Fordo. The heightened combat readiness measures affected in particular American bases in the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. In total, let me remind you, there are more than 40,000 American military personnel in the Middle East. At the same time, Iran has already informed the United States that if Americans are directly involved in Israel's military campaign, Tehran will respond strongly to the United States. This was stated by Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, Ali Bahraini. According to him, Iran believes the United States is complicit in Israel's actions. He also promises a decisive response to the Israeli strikes. Next is his quote, "We will show no hesitation in defending our people, security, and land. We will respond seriously and decisively without restraint." And today, Iranian television read out a statement from Khamenei in which he declares that the Iranian nation is not one to surrender. This statement came after Trump called on the country to surrender unconditionally. Interestingly, Khamenei didn't speak himself. For an unknown reason, his statement was read from a paper. Well, I'll quote further. Let the Americans know that the Iranian nation is not one to surrender, and any military intervention on their part will undoubtedly cause irreparable damage. Those who are wise and familiar with Iran, its people, and its history never speak to this side in the language of threats. Well, it's worth reminding that just yesterday, before the White House National Security Team meeting, Trump stated that Khamenei himself is an easy target for the United States and Israel. And then he toughened his demands and wrote, "Unconditional surrender." Moreover, today that very Khamenei started looking for excuses as to why his country is not complying with the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and why it failed the negotiations with the United States. Khamenei blames Israel for everything. In particular, the supreme leader of Iran criticized Israel for launching a military campaign at a time when Tehran was negotiating with the United States on its uranium enrichment program. Last week, Trump said that he had given Iran chance after chance to make a deal to shut down its nuclear enrichment program. Tehran was either unable or unwilling to do so, and it insisted on retaining the right to enrich uranium. However, in today's pre-recorded video address, Khamenei emphasized that the Israeli attack, quote, happened at a time when our officials were holding indirect talks with the United States. And there were no signs of any aggressive military or harsh actions from Iran. American allies of Israel are intervening, and this is a sign of weakness and inability of the Zionist regime. The punishment that the Iranian people and armed forces carried out, continue to carry out, and have planned for the future is severe, and it has weakened the enemy. The Iranian people must continue to live with strength. In response to this, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar sent a letter to the United Nations Security Council claiming that Iran has a strategic plan to destroy Israel, and Israel is determined to defend itself. Next is a quote from Gideon Sa'ar. Iran has a strategic plan to destroy Israel. Israel cannot and will not accept the threat of destruction. Israel's attack on Iran was carried out after a critical development in Iran's nuclear weapons program and was also aimed at preventing the imminent threat of additional Iranian missile and proxy attacks. The decision to attack was made as a last resort. At the same time, according to statements by American officials familiar with the intelligence, Tehran has readied missiles and other military equipment capable of attacking American bases in the region. These measures are seen by the Iranian side as a response to possible United States intervention in the conflict on Israel's side. And now, according to sources, Iran has indeed prepared missiles and other military equipment for attacks on American bases in the Middle East. The United States has already sent about 30 tanker aircraft to Europe, which can be used to support fighters defending American military bases or to extend their range. Bombers involved in a possible strike on Iranian nuclear facilities if the United States joins the Israeli campaign and strikes Fordo, a key Iranian nuclear site. The Yemeni Houthis will likely resume attacks on ships in the Red Sea. American officials are already openly saying this, but they don't add that pro-Iranian groups in Iraq and Syria will likely also try to attack American bases in the region. Other officials report that in the event of an attack, Iran may begin mining the Strait of Hormuz to prevent American ships from maneuvering in the Persian Gulf. Two Iranian officials confirmed that Iran will attack American bases in the Middle East, starting with those located in Iraq if the United States joins the war. They also noted that Iran will target any American bases in Arab countries that participate in this attack, which will draw these countries into the war. First and foremost, these are Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. The likelihood of American forces joining the war has increased in recent days. At the same time, it's not clear how much damage a strike on Fordo would do to Iran's nuclear capabilities, because it is reported that Iran's existing stockpiles of enriched uranium are hidden in tunnels at various locations throughout the country. And American intelligence agencies have long concluded that Iran was close to being able to build a nuclear weapon, but has not yet made the decision to do so. If Iran decides to make a weapon, it could take less than a year. But on the other hand, a primitive basic nuclear bomb could possibly be constructed much faster within a week or two. Meanwhile, after the Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, Tel Aviv expects the operation to continue with United States support. Moreover, high-ranking representatives of the Israeli government are counting on Donald Trump to support their efforts and help finish what was started. One of the Israeli officials directly stated, quote, "The entire operation against Iran was initially based on the assumption that at some point the United States would join in." Israeli military sources also emphasize that Israel has alternative scenarios for destroying or temporarily disabling the nuclear facility. Fordow, which is located underground and is one of the most protected sites of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. However, none of these scenarios can compare in effectiveness to a strike by American strategic bombers equipped with bunker-busting bombs capable of hitting targets deep underground. Before that, let me remind you, the United States and Iran held 5 rounds of indirect talks through the mediation of Oman to resolve issues related to Tehran's nuclear program. The 6th round of talks, scheduled for June 15th in Muscat, was cancelled after Israel's attack on Iran, and especially after Iran began to state that it might publicly start developing nuclear weapons. And here we are today. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, issued a warning on social media at dawn, telling Israel, quote, "The battle begins." And by the way, friends, you can find all the latest news about events in the Middle East and more on my Telegram channel. The link to it is in the description of this video. Be sure to subscribe. But as it turned out, not everyone in the United States is thrilled about Donald Trump's idea to go to war with Iran. A bipartisan resolution has been introduced in the United States Congress to stop President Trump from attacking Iran. In particular, Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of the House of Representatives announced on his website the introduction of a resolution that, quote, prohibits the United States Armed Forces from engaging in unauthorized hostilities in the Islamic Republic of Iran. Although, such a decision might be too late. Let me explain why. Such a document on military powers can be brought up for discussion and voting on the floor of Congress after 15 calendar days without any decisions being made in the committee. By then, the United States may have already destroyed Iran's nuclear facility, as you know. Nevertheless, the resolution states, quote, "The Constitution does not allow the executive branch to unilaterally take military action against a sovereign state that has not attacked the United States. Congress has the exclusive right to declare war on Iran. The ongoing war between Israel and Iran is not our war. Even if that were the case, Congress should decide such matters in accordance with our Constitution." In general, the situation is ambiguous, if I may say so, but I'll leave it at that for now. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments under this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support the work of this channel, you can do so financially by donating through the links and details in the description of this video, or by using the quick response code on your screen. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.